There's this writer she was on the show Grey's Anatomy. Her name's Elizabeth Finch. And earlier this year, it was did I get that right? It was Elizabeth Finch, right?
Yeah, Elizabeth Finch.
With an S. Elizabeth with an S. And basically, she was they started an investigation in like May or June where they found out that she lied, or they suspected that she lied about having cancer.
You mean this last year?
No, this past summer.
Well, actually, she had to take leave from the Grey's Anatomy writer's room in March this year.
This investigation was already underway earlier this year.
I know,
but
she had to leave the show before that in March.
Yeah, but she was on leave. She was on leave because they were doing an investigation. Now she's admitting what happened here.
Yeah. They started the investigation way earlier than that, though.
In earlier this year.
Earlier than
March?
May or June, earlier than March.
Oh, well, it was a long time ago that we covered this, basically. So what happens here is she told a lie, and it got her a job on Grey's Anatomy. I also have I've made an interesting conclusion that's funny to this. So basically she says, I told the lie when I was 34 years old, and it was the biggest mistake of my life. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger and got buried deeper and deeper inside me. She says she took a leave of absence earlier this year after allegations swirled that she concocted her supposedly debilitating health crisis for attention and was placed under investigation following the explosive news.
You say that she did this. She created all of these lies about having a cancer diagnosis, having an abortion, kidney loss, her brother's suicide, all of this stuff to impress Shonda Rhimes and get a job writing for Grey's Anatomy?
The brother's suicide one, I do not know. S word.
I don't know if that's exactly fair, right? Like, she just had Munchausen's.
I would have to go back to the original article that we covered when we talked about it. But they referenced that she knew that basically that Shonda Rhimes liked to hire people that had dealt with their own issues because they felt it made the writing more real. If it was something that you remember, they love this concept, right? They love the concept that you can't write something unless you've experienced it. Mm-hmm. Okay, she didn't write a story about Munchausen's. She wrote a story about cancer, which she didn't have. She's actually the proof that you don't need to have lived through something to write about it well. The episodes she wrote, from what I understand, are all very, very highly regarded.
I know is she published a bunch of personal essays in different publications like Elle, The Hollywood Reporter, Shondaland, which is Shonda Rhimes'
production company.
Production company. And then they were adapted into storylines for Grey's Anatomy, which is like the crazy fan gone to its natural conclusion.
She was that good of her imagination was so good.
You almost have to applaud her.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it throws cold water on the argument that you need to live through something to write about it. You don't. You need to do a lot of research. Well, I guarantee you she talks about this. She did a lot of research into these conditions so that she could fake it.
In a way, it almost seems like she doesn't regret what she did. When in some of these quotes, she said that she misses it. She misses the family on Grey's Anatomy, even though she was lying to them the whole time. This one line from the article of, like, the more recent article said of her time at Grey's, days where she taped a dummy catheter to her arm and shaved her hair to feign that she was undergoing chemotherapy. She now says, I really miss it. I miss my fellow writers. One of the things that makes it so hard is they did really rally around a false narrative that I gave. She only misses the attention that they gave her, and she's only sorry, seemingly, that she got caught.
She doesn't have a thought in the world of how they feel about being duped by somebody. Like, whether you like it or not, I don't know, like, if you guys have experienced anything like this. I know this from my own issues, right? Like, substance abuse problems. Whether you want to admit it or not, your actions have consequences for the people around you. Like, you think you're only hurting yourself, you're not. At the very least, you're causing a certain level of emotional expenditure from the people around you, the ones that care about you. It takes an emotional range, and you go through a lot of things worrying about somebody that's struggling or suffering. To do this to people and not be more upset by your own actions is kind of abhorrent.
It wasn't just what I can't get over. It's not just one lie.
No,
like
it
it is
gets
specific.
progressively-
There's details, like the type of cancer she chose to have. I'm like, I don't know what she expected. Like, so I'm reading that. I have the article here. It says, I don't know how to pronounce this type of cancer, but it's difficult to treat, and it's of the spine, I believe, and it's very difficult to treat. Like, there's only one end result here is that she would have ended up having to die. So like, I don't know what she was thinking, right? Why would she choose such an aggressive
Chondrosarcoma.
hard
Well,
to treat
it's choosing
cancer?
the short-term reward of getting attention and care from the people around you, but then not thinking about the long-term consequence, which is that like
is an
eventually this is
addiction.
going to catch up to you.
It is an addiction, which she's going like a weird form of addiction. She's addicted to the sympathy, to the attention.
And now she
I feel
claims
for her,
that
but
she
holy
claims
crap.
that she only behaved this way and concocted all of these lies because of her own trauma.
Well,
she
you're
and
right.
her PTSD and anxiety.
You're right.
and
She's
depression.
not sorry
Her
that
brother.
she did it. She's sorry that she got caught, because what she's saying is, yes, I did these things, but it's not my fault. It's because of my brother.
That was my
Right.
favorite.
But I feel like, how are we supposed to even believe that? That's why I'm just like throwing it in with the rest of her lies.
What makes that true?
Why are we supposed to believe that you got a diagnosis with any of the following, like medical trauma, depression, PTSD, anxiety, when the rest of the diagnoses that you've said you have been false?
So imagine the one about her brother, right? So she lies about her brother basically taking his own life. That's such an easy thing to check.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, I get it. I get it. You're wanting for attention, and they basically the doctor who evaluates her, armchair evaluates her, basically points out, says she's addicted to like getting attention through alternative means. She doesn't want to ask somebody, please pay attention to me, please do this. She needs to get it through self-defeating means.
Yeah.
But what will the consequences be for her? Because it doesn't seem like she broke any laws.
No. I mean, she'll be fired. I'm guessing. She'd
Yeah,
be fired,
she's
but
not going to be welcomed back into this industry, but
It would also
she's
be-
also like a very talented writer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
but
go
you
write.
can't trust her anymore.
She could write under a pen name. She could write scripts.
That's
Ho-
true.
A lot
Hollywood
of
is
people would say,
unscrupulous.
what is the substantive difference between creating all of these scripts for Grey's Anatomy
Yeah.
that dramatize medical traumatic situations and present them to the public for their consumption when they're like stuffing their face with junk food on the couch?
Yeah.
And what Elizabeth Finch did, which is really the same thing, but she just exposed these fake stories to less people
Yeah.
as her own.
I don't know. I don't think
Like
it's
one is
much-
art and one is
100%
fakery.
art, and one is not like going and gaining
Those are-
sympathy points from other people.
Yeah, those are real people that you're forcing to care about you in a way that, like I said, going through something traumatic. I don't know if you've ever had a family member that's been through something, struggled through something really, really bad health related, or even a coworker. You're with them because you developed an emotional connection with them because you've worked long hours together.
Yeah.
Writers' rooms can be extremely close. Another thing that I think is really interesting is, think about this. On a daily basis, I tend to wonder sometimes like how much people even notice about other people, because people tend to be so kind of wrapped up in their own worlds. Like to have that many lies on top of each other, that have that many intellectual inconsistencies that they finally started to notice, feels like it would have had to have been an insane amount of them just to even get.
Well, imagine the stress too, like she put on her coworkers by be like, how dare you like doubt that a woman has cancer?
Oh yeah,
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, this is coming from the culture, really, that we can't question other people's trauma because it's invalidating, and you have to celebrate people's trauma and put them on a pedestal based on whatever hardships they've experienced, and then spin it into a script to sell it. That's what this is a consequence of the commodification of trauma.
Yep. Well, of any type of victimhood culture,
Right.
not just that kind of trauma, but anything that makes you feel special,
And even
where it
now-
happens to you, rather
Even now,
than
when you're caught in the lie of all of this fabricated trauma that you've gone through, you still have a way to manipulate and twist it into a new victimhood narrative.
It reminds me of like a kleptomaniac, like someone who starts off by stealing a candy bar, and then by 2 years later, it's like entire backpacks full of high-end garments,
Yeah.
right? That's what this reminds me of. She got away with a little thing, and then she just ran with it, and
And
that's
I
why
think-
there's like 15 different serious health issues that she was lying about.
Yeah. Also, she the maybe the most abhorrent part was the where she lied about that her cancer diagnosis forced her to have an abortion, and she did this during the political tensions as they were rising. That is evil.
She's sick. I mean, that's what I get from this. Like, no healthy person mentally would go on with this. She's ill.
Yeah. So, and here's the other thing. I have a lot of sympathy for going through that. It's the amount of other people. You know, all people that are traumatized and acting out are liable to hurt somebody else in some way, shape, or form. Especially like when you're self-destructing, and this is just a strange form of self-destruction. Right. But it does speak to like great art comes from trauma, right? She created. I wouldn't know if I'd call episodes of Grey's Anatomy great art, but certainly corporatized, above average network television art can be done. And I'm sick of the argument that you have to have lived something to write about it, because clearly your imagination is a very, very powerful tool.
This is the ultimate proof against that claim that, in order to accurately represent something traumatic, you had to have experienced it yourself. Clearly that's not true, and we've gone to this ugly length to prove that.
And there was also, I think, like, she was divorced from her partner, and her partner, like, it came out because her partner basically, they contacted her, and she's like, no, none of this is happening. Like, that's bonkers, dude.
Well, it reminds me of, like, if you ever see, like, a traumatic event on the news and they start trying to interview people.
Yeah.
And it's like a person that was there and experienced it, and they can't. A lot of times they turn into memes because they tell such an exaggerated version of the story, or they can't get their words out. So, like, I agree with you, Mary.
It's like me on the show sometimes.
Your experience really means nothing in terms of being able to tell a good story, because there's so many people that live through the worst possible things you can imagine, and they can't even get it out for one reason or the other.
You know what, guys? I think the case of Elizabeth Finch is so interesting, more interesting than all the seasons of Grey's Anatomy combined. They should just make a spin-off about her.
It's going to be a Netflix documentary.
Finch.
I'm sure it will be. And until they wring this sponge completely dry.
Call it
Finch's Fibs.
Pinocchio woman. I don't like to rag on somebody because she's very clearly sick, but it's it's that much manipulation in the workplace that's kind of crazy to me. And it is one of those things where, like you said, they've turned all trauma into a commodity, into a form of currency in their industry. And maybe it's particularly worse there than it is in other places, but it proves like the type of person that it signals to the type of person that goes and looks to work in that industry. Plus, she's already a writer. She's already naturally likely creative. So it's just you're creative, and then you also have this problem, and it leads to bad things.
Right.
Here are some reactions to this new piece on Twitter. One person who actually I think is a writer and producer for The Witcher and Vampire Diaries said, for the record, we all thought she was dying of cancer. Like, this person worked with Elizabeth Finch. Sorry if I don't buy a redemption arc dictated from her quaint Topanga Canyon front porch. And another person said that Elizabeth Finch was responsible for writing the worst episode of the entire series of Grey's Anatomy. I don't know which episode that one
I don't know what they're talking
they
about.
said season 15, episode 19. But basically, like, people are grossed out that this content is still public.
Yeah.
That she wrote.
Well, I mean, I don't care about that. Doesn't really bother me, but like,
I'm sure like the censor happy people are saying like we should get rid of all the episodes she was involved in.
Those people don't have an argument. It's the people she worked with that should feel outraged.
She shouldn't still have a job after this, is my opinion. But for
give her more work. Just don't believe anything she says.
I think
she can never miss a day of work, and she can never claim that she's sick again.
I think going under a pen name is probably a genius move for her going forward. She's obviously a talented writer. She's got a wild imagination, and I think she could create good art. But
Elmore
in a
Finch.
workplace on a cast, I don't know anymore.
She can go by Ellen Finch or Elmore Finch.
Elmore.
Go by Elmore Finch.
Do you guys think this is like psychopath behavior?
I think
like having no remorse, no empathy.
I mean, I feel like I see more of that every day of people who just don't want to. When they get caught, they're not sad that they got caught. They're just sad or they're not sad that they got caught. You know what I'm saying, right? They're not actually guilty. They just are sad that they got caught.
Yeah.
My brain's
so,
not
like,
working
do you
today.
think that she's like a psychopath for
No.
Oh,
doing
no, no,
this,
I-
or
she's
she's
sick.
just like sick in the head
I think
Well,
she's
in
sick in
another
the
way?
head.
Psychopathy is sick, right? So, in this article it says there's most likely an underlying personality disorder.
Yeah.
So she's sick, but psychopathy is being sick. You know?
Yeah, true.
My brain is not working today.
That's okay, Brett.
Why not?
I don't
Happens to the best of
Because
us.
you're drinking a mini Monster.
No,
You need
no, I
you need one of the
didn't- I
big
didn't drink
versions.
any
I think they're
Monster
actually the same
yesterday.
size.
My brain is not working today. It's very, very interesting. Maybe I'm sick.
It's like the third cloudy day in a row.
Maybe I should go to the doctor and see if I've got a condition.
Okay.
What is there a condition, doctor, for brain doesn't work some days?
I mean, I can't say that word on YouTube.
Fair enough. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.